London, 1888. The air hangs heavy over the East End, a mix of coal smoke, river fog, and the quiet desperation of thousands of people squeezed into rotting tenements. Gas lamps flicker on narrow streets, their weak light swallowed by alleyways where the city prefers not to look too closely. In the early hours of August 31st, a cart rattles down Buck's Row in Whitechapel. The carman guiding the horse thinks the shape on the cobblestones is just a bundle of cloth, tossed aside like so many other things in this forgotten corner of the empire. But as he draws closer, he stops. The bundle has hair, a face, a throat. In minutes, a small group gathers around the body of Mary Ann Nichols. Her skirt is pulled down to preserve some small dignity, but nothing can hide the brutality of what's been done to her. Her throat has been cut twice, deep enough to nearly sever her head. Her abdomen has been viciously mutilated. Whoever did this took time, but left no trace. The policemen who arrive in the flickering gaslight tell themselves they have seen worse. This is the East End. Violence is part of the air. But something about this scene feels different, too deliberate, too cold. They do not yet know it, but London has just met the man who will become a legend of fear. The killer history will remember as Jack the Ripper. Within weeks, more bodies will follow. The press will give the killer a name. The public will give him their nightmares, and Scotland Yard will give him their best detectives. But for all the panic, all the patrols, all the investigations and theories that will follow for more than a century, one question will remain unanswered. Who was Jack the Ripper? To understand why this case has never been solved, we have to step into the darkness of Whitechapel as it truly was, into the lives of the women who died, into the alleys where they took their last steps, and into the investigation that tried and failed to bring a phantom to justice. Whitechapel in 1888 is not the polished imperial London shown on postcards. It is a maze of cramped courts and narrow passages where entire families share one damp room and the gutters run with sewage. Immigrants, refugees, sailors, dock workers, and the poorest of the poor crowd into lodging houses where a bed is rented by the night or a rope to sleep on if you cannot afford even that. Alcohol is cheap. Hope is expensive. Many women here live day to day, balancing on the edge of survival. There is no safety net, no social welfare. If you cannot pay for a bed, you walk the streets until you can earn enough. For some, that means selling the only thing they have left, their own bodies. The newspapers will later condemn them as unfortunates. In reality, they are victims long before the killer ever finds them. On August 31st, Polly Nichols becomes the first of the so-called canonical 5 victims. She has argued with her lodging house keeper because she cannot pay for her bed. "I'll soon get my DOS money," she says, stepping out into the night. Hours later, she lies dead in Buck's Row. The police suspect a violent customer, a jealous lover, a random man with a knife. The city barely pauses. Murders are not rare here. But 8 days later, on September 8th, another woman is found. Annie Chapman's body is discovered in the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street, mutilated in a way that shocks even hardened officers. Her throat has been cut. Her abdomen has been opened. Organs appear to have been removed with chilling precision. The repeating pattern is impossible to ignore. 2 women, both streetwalkers, both killed in the early hours of the morning, both with similar throat wounds and abdominal mutilations. As rumors spread through the lodging houses and pubs of Whitechapel, fear takes on a sharper shape. Women warn each other not to walk alone. Men claim to have seen suspicious strangers in dark coats, shadowy figures with foreign accents.
In the smoky offices of the newspapers, editors realize they stand on a story that will sell papers by the thousands. The killer has not only found his hunting ground, he has found his stage. From this point on, every scream in the night, every rumor of a man with a knife, every anonymous letter will be swallowed into something larger, the birth of a modern urban legend. The press swarms over Whitechapel. Reporters jostle for details at crime scenes. Sketch artists record the narrow alleys, and newspapers invent dramatic headlines to sell copies to a public both horrified and fascinated. On the night of September 30th, the killer strikes again, and this time he seems to be racing against the clock itself. Shortly before 1 a.m., the body of Elizabeth Stride is discovered in Dutfield's yard. Her throat has been slashed, but there are no abdominal mutilations like those seen before. Some investigators will later argue that the killer was interrupted, scared away before he could complete whatever ritual he had begun. If that is true, then what happens next feels like a terrible confirmation. Less than an hour later, a second body is found in Mitre Square, about a 15-minute walk away. Catherine Eddowes lies on the cold stones, throat slashed, abdomen savagely mutilated. Her face has been cut, as if the killer wanted to erase her identity, reduce her to a symbol of terror. Part of a kidney has been removed and taken from the scene. 2 women in one night. The city wakes up to news of what the press will call the double event. Panic spreads. The killer is no longer just a monster lurking in back alleys. He has become something worse, a presence that seems to slip through the city's fingers, taunting the authorities. And then he starts writing. On September 27th, before the double event, a letter arrives at the Central News Agency. Written in red ink, it opens with 2 words that will echo for generations. Dear Boss. The author mocks the police, brags about his crimes, and signs off with a name the world will never forget. Yours truly, Jack the Ripper. Soon after, a postcard arrives referencing the double murders in a way that seems to show inside knowledge. It is signed Saucy Jackie. Then comes the most chilling of all, a small package containing half of a human kidney preserved in spirits. The note that accompanies it begins, "From hell." Were these really the killer's words, or just hoaxes from a public drunk on fear and attention? The police themselves are divided. Some investigators dismiss the letters as pranks. Others believe at least one may be genuine. But whether real or fake, the effect is undeniable. A nameless killer suddenly has a persona. He has a brand. The newspapers print Jack the Ripper in bold type. Cartoons depict a shadowy figure in a cloak and top hat. People start to imagine they see him on every foggy street corner. The investigation is no longer just a hunt for a murderer. It is a battle for control of the story. Scotland Yard throws everything it has at the case. Detectives flood Whitechapel. Plainclothes officers mingle with crowds in pubs and lodging houses. Questionnaires are handed out. Suspects are dragged in, questioned, released. Tips pour in from across the country, and soon from around the world. But the police of 1888 are fighting with tools from another era. There is no fingerprint database, no DNA analysis, no modern blood typing. Crime scenes are trampled by curious onlookers and local constables long before senior detectives arrive. Photographs, when taken at all, are limited and slow. Street lighting is poor, and the victims, poor, female, often homeless and struggling with alcoholism, do not command the same attention or sympathy from the upper classes as wealthier citizens might. Inside the force itself, there are tensions. The Metropolitan Police and the City of London Police have overlapping jurisdictions and sometimes competing theories. The Home Secretary faces public outrage and demands for results. Political pressure grows. The commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, Sir Charles Warren, will eventually resign under a cloud of criticism. Meanwhile, theories bloom like mold in the damp London air. Some say the killer is a foreigner, an easy scapegoat in a neighborhood already filled with anti-immigrant sentiment. Others believe he must be a doctor or butcher, given the apparent skill with which organs have been removed. Names begin to surface. Montague John Druitt, a barrister and teacher who will later drown in the Thames. Aaron Kosminski, a disturbed Polish-Jewish immigrant. Michael Ostrog, a Russian-born thief, and many more. Witness statements are contradictory, often vague. A man with a dark coat and a peaked cap. A man with a mustache. A man with a bag. The only thing the sightings have in common is that they happen in poor lighting, at odd hours, in a neighborhood where strangers come and go constantly. On November 9th, the killer commits what many see as his final and most horrifying act. In a tiny room at 13 Miller's Court, the body of Mary Jane Kelly is found on the bed. She is younger than the other victims, and unlike them, she was murdered indoors. The room is a scene of unimaginable brutality. The mutilations go far beyond anything seen before, as though the killer, freed from the risk of discovery in the open street, had allowed his darkest impulses full expression. After Miller's Court, the murders that can clearly be linked to the same hand appear to stop. The police never charge anyone. The files grow cold. Witnesses die. Memories fade. Over the decades, some evidence is lost, some destroyed, and some contaminated by time. The killer has melted back into the fog from which he came. Jack the Ripper has killed at least 5 women: Polly Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly, and vanished without a trace. Or so it seems.
Time does not bury the Whitechapel murders, it transforms them. As the years pass, the Ripper case becomes less a police investigation and more a mirror in which each generation sees its own fears and fascinations. New suspects are proposed, new books are written, new final solutions are announced with certainty, only to be challenged by the next wave of researchers. Some point to Montague Druitt, noting that the murders stopped shortly after his death. Others accuse Aaron Kosminski, drawing on later police notes that hint a Polish Jew was suspected. Others still cast their net wider: royal conspiracies involving Prince Albert Victor, a deranged midwife, a slaughterman, an artist, a writer, even famous names whose reputations are too tempting to resist. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, modern forensic techniques are brought to bear. DNA testing is attempted on decades-old letters and artifacts. Computer analysis is used to study the language of the letters. Geographic profilers map the crime locations to guess where the killer might have lived. And yet, nothing definitive emerges. The physical evidence is too old, too degraded, too mishandled. Chain of custody was not even a concept in 1888. Letters may have been contaminated by countless hands, from detectives and archivists to curious researchers and tourists. Eyewitness descriptions remain vague. Official files are incomplete. Some were never kept. Others have been lost. The truth is harsh but simple. In a strict evidential sense, the case may be unsolvable. But the mystery endures for a reason deeper than the search for a name. When people ask who was Jack the Ripper, they're often asking another question without realizing it. How could someone move among the crowded streets of a great city night after night, committing unspeakable acts and never be caught? How could society allow certain lives, poor, female, marginalized, to be so disposable that even in death, they were treated as characters in a lurid story rather than human beings whose lives mattered? In the end, the only names we know for certain are not the suspects, but the victims.
Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, Mary Jane Kelly. Women who laughed, argued, drank, worked, loved, and tried to survive in a world stacked against them. Jack the Ripper has become a shadow, a symbol of the unknown predator in the fog. But perhaps the real lesson of this story is not in his identity, but in the society that allowed his crimes to happen and then turned them into legend. More than 130 years later, the question still hangs over Whitechapel's narrow streets like a London mist. Who was Jack the Ripper? A disturbed loner? A respected doctor? A violent stranger who blended into the crowd and slipped away? Or will his true face remain forever hidden, staring back at us only as a dark reflection of our own fears? If you want to keep exploring the world's most haunting mysteries, from unsolved crimes to lost civilizations and places that seem too strange to be real, subscribe to Hidden Myst, leave a like, and tell me in the comments which enigma you want to uncover next. Until then, stay curious.